I get a lot of questions about the beautiful stats in my builds, so in this video, I'll show you the process I went through to get these absolutely gorgeous stat spreads and how you can too with relatively low effort, whether you're a brand new player or a 10-year veteran. I'm Marshix and I do stuff. The absolute first thing you want to do is equip a ghost with one of these armor mods. This will make it so all armor drops with a minimum of 10 in whichever stat you choose, and it raises the likelihood of getting even higher than 10. But it's not as simple as just put on the good stat. You can do that, but if you're going for triple and hundreds, which most people probably are, you'll need to first identify which 3 stats you want and then determine their stat groupings. What I mean by that is the game tries to balance out the stats you get on your armor. There's the first group of stats, which are mobility, resilience, and recovery. Then there's a second group of stats, which are discipline, intellect, and strength. The top 3 and the bottom 3. The game tries to divide the stats evenly between the 2 groups, which is why these numbers are typically around the same. Not exactly 50-50, but it tends to be close to that. Now, with that in mind, you want to target the stat that's in its own group. For this example, I will be going with resilience, recovery, and discipline. Discipline is the odd one out, so I will be using a discipline ghost mod. This will help you get one big spike in discipline, then you just need to get lucky for your resilience and recovery spikes. Trust me, it makes sense. Now it's time to get high stat armor so you can get the most stats possible. A piece of armor is considered to be high stats if it has a total of 60 or higher. And the highest a piece of armor can get is 68 total on legendaries before any external factors. And some exotics can get up to 70 total stats. However, that's extremely rare and not necessary. I've only ever found a handful of these 70 rolls, and most of them aren't even good. I'll go over how to get high stat armor in a minute, but first, it's important to know about the ways to improve your armor to turn your 68 pieces into 80s, 90s, and even higher. The first thing to do is equip stat mods. These can increase one stat by up to 10 points, and you get to choose whatever that stat is, so you can always make it work with your build. These can go on each armor piece, including the class item, for a total of 50 extra points to your build, which is massive. But in order to use these mods, you'll need to upgrade your armor, which also increases your stats. After fully upgrading an armor piece to level 10, it becomes masterworked, meaning you get a +2 to every single stat, for a total of 12 stats per armor piece. Another huge upgrade. Subclasses also increase your stats through subclass fragments. Some of these have additional stats tied to them, some positive, some negative. So depending on the build you're going for, you might be able to squeeze out a few more points. Those are the 3 main ways to increase your stats, but there are a few more secret ways that I'll go over in a little bit. But as for getting high stat armor for yourself, there are multiple ways. Powerful and pinnacle drops, prime engrams, exotics, campaign missions, empire hunts, master wellspring, master raids, and master dungeons. All of those can drop high stat armor, but the fastest and easiest by far is simply talk to Riven. Okay, there's a little bit more involved, but stick with me. All 4 vendors in the helm give you an item that allows you to earn seasonal engrams for that vendor. The Legacy Ascendant Scepter for the War Table, Legacy NPA Repulsion Regulator from the Sonar Station, the Legacy Acolyte Staff from the Ritual Table, and for Riven, it's just your artifact. While you have these items, any activity has a chance to drop their engrams. Lots of them. Are you seeing how many I'm getting from just Lost Sectors? So needless to say, I have a lot stored up, and you can too after just a couple hours of doing literally anything. Now, what we're going to do with these engrams is decrypt them into guaranteed high stat armor. To do that, you'll need the following upgrades at each of the seasonal vendors. Defiant Armor Focusing from the War Table, Deep Armor Focusing for the Sonar Station, Wishful Armor Focusing for Riven, and I can't for the life of me find the upgrade for the Ritual Table, but I know it's here somewhere. With these upgrades, you'll be able to go to any of the seasonal vendors, then right here next to the armor, you can decrypt your hundreds of engrams all into high stat armor. So just spend a few minutes turning it all into armor, then dump it all in your vault. If you don't have room, make room. Then get more armor and dump it in your vault, and more and more. The point is, you want a large variety of armor so you have the most chances of getting triple 100s of your preferred stats. Don't worry about vault space, we'll filter out all the bad stuff in a minute, but we do need it right now. Now that your vault is overfilling with high stat armor, you're going to need to go to d2armorpicker.com. This website will look at your account and calculate every possible combination of gear you have and help you find exactly what you're looking for. Start by telling it the exotic you want, the subclass fragments you're using, and assume all items are masterworked. Now scroll back to the top and select the stats you want to achieve. If you can click on it, you can make it in the game. If it ever becomes grayed out, it's not possible. As you can see, I can make some really high stat builds, up to tier 41, which is insane. But you can also see I have over 200 armor pieces in my vault, all of which are really good. So it really comes down to volume. The more armor you have, the more possible combinations and potentially better combinations. Once you find the stats you're happy with, you can click on the right, then copy and paste the link into Dim or DestinyItemManager.com, and it will show you exactly which pieces you need to equip to get the stats you chose on the other website. Now you need to save this as a loadout inside of Dim. Give it a name and click save. Then beside the name, it may or may not say better stats available. If it doesn't, perfect, you're done. You already have the best build. If it does, click on optimize armor, compare your loadout to the one it recommends. Then if the computer is correct, select save as, and you now have the best build possible. So take some time to play around with both of these tools. They're really helpful and I use them for all my builds. One other thing I like to do for my builds is go down to settings and under the section where it says wasted stats, click optimize wasted stats and show builds with no wasted stats. This doesn't really help you out gameplay wise, but it is kind of a flex having all even numbers in every stat, and I think it just looks cool. Then once you make all the builds you want and you have them saved, you can easily just clean up your vault using Dim. In the search bar, type in this to filter out all the armor you don't have in any Dim or in-game loadout, then simply delete everything that's not in a loadout. They aren't being used, so you don't need them taking up space. Now, I know what a lot of you are saying, but Artifice armor is better. And yes, you would be correct. Artifice armor can drop with up to 68 total stats, just like normal armor, but it also gets an extra 3-point stat mod for free. So yes, it is strictly better. However, Artifice armor only drops from master dungeons, which are fairly difficult, time-consuming, requires 2 other people, and you're still not guaranteed to get any good rolls. At least with the seasonal armor, you get engrams passively as you play the game, and you get a ton of them, so you have a large variety to choose from. Now, earlier I mentioned secret invisible stats. These are stats that are applied to your character, but they aren't reflected in the character screen. There are a bunch of these, so I'll just go over them quickly. But first, like the video if you ever want to see Cade 6 again. Lightweight weapons. You get a plus 20 mobility when you're holding a lightweight weapon in your hand. 2 excess origin trait. Plus 20 discipline and plus 20 strength on kills when your super is full. Land tank origin trait. Plus 10 resilience per kill, stacking up to 3 times. Killing wind. Plus 50 mobility and some other stuff. Dragon shadow. Plus 50 mobility after dodging. Peacekeepers. Plus 50 mobility when holding an SMG, and this does stack with lightweight SMGs for a total of plus 70 mobility. Whisper of Hedrons. Plus 60 mobility, resilience, and recovery after freezing something. Echo of Domineering. Plus 30 mobility after suppressing someone, in addition to the 10 discipline it shows on the bottom. The Solstice Rekindled chest pieces. These give you 1 free resilience just by wearing the ornament. It doesn't show on the armor, but it does actually show on the character screen. And the most impactful invisible stats come from font mods. At Guardian rank 6, you unlock all the font mods. These will give you plus 30 to whichever stat you choose while you have armor charges, which, let's be honest, is all the time. All 6 stats have their own font mod, and it goes on different armor pieces. Font of Wisdom increases your intellect on helmets. Font of Focus for discipline on gauntlets. Font of Vigor for strength on gauntlets. Font of Endurance for resilience on chest pieces. Font of Agility for mobility on boots. And Font of Restoration for recovery on class items. And these mods can stack with themselves, so plus 30 is not the highest you can get. 1 mod gives you plus 30 for that stat, 2 mods gives you plus 50, and 3 mods gives you plus 60. Yes, they have diminishing returns, and they're pretty expensive, but it's still nice to have that option. I don't recommend more than 1 of these mods at a time, but you could maybe justify 2, and then 3 is just not worth the energy cost. One warning with these mods though, too many of these font mods at once can sometimes break the game and make them do literally nothing. But that hasn't stopped me from making this absolutely perfect Nezarec build with exactly 70s in every stat and 1 of each font mod for a perfect 600 stat build. Yes, this is overkill. Now that you know how to get amazing stats for your builds, you'll want to make some actually good builds. So you'll definitely want to check out this video for the best builds for solo players. Thanks for watching, I'm Marshix, and I'll see you next time.